Days of Our Lives spoilers for November 6th. Family tensions escalate as Theo rises in power, while EJ discovers unexpected allies. Abe's deepening concerns over Theo's involvement with DiMera Enterprises. Abraham Carver stands at a crossroads, haunted by the ghosts of his family's complicated past. His concerns about his son Theo's recent career move aren't merely parental, they are rooted in hard-won experience and the painful memories of watching someone he deeply loved get consumed by the cutthroat world of the DiMera family business. Abe's apprehension centers on the DiMera dynasty's notorious reputation for corrupting even the most well-intentioned individuals who enter its fold. When Lexi, Theo's mother and Abe's former wife, became entangled with the DiMera organization years ago, the consequences were far-reaching and ultimately devastating. The emotional toll and moral compromises she faced served as a cautionary tale that Abe has never forgotten. Now, seeing his own son following a similar trajectory triggers a protective instinct that borders on paternal desperation. Despite his father's reservations and the weight of family history pressing down upon him, Theo attempts to reassure Abe that he possesses the strength and resolve necessary to navigate the treacherous corridors of corporate intrigue. Theo believes himself equipped to handle whatever challenges lie ahead, confident in his ability to maintain his integrity despite working for one of Salem's most morally ambiguous families. However, his youthful confidence masks a troubling reality. Theo may not fully comprehend the subtle psychological manipulation and ethical compromises that come with working for the DiMeras. The learning curve could prove steeper and more damaging than he anticipates. Roman's cautionary wisdom and Paulina's precarious position. As the situation spirals, Paulina Price stands her ground in supporting her son's ambitious career trajectory. Her unwavering endorsement of Theo's position at DiMera Enterprises creates a significant rift with her husband Abe, who finds her approval deeply frustrating and counterintuitive to his protective parenting philosophy. The tension between them intensifies as each day passes, and Abe observes what he perceives as his son's gradual transformation into something darker, something more ruthless. Enter Roman Brady, a seasoned resident of Salem who brings decades of hard-earned wisdom to the conversation. Roman's own complicated history with the DiMera familiant, his intimate understanding of loving someone deeply while simultaneously dreading their professional affiliations, him unique insight into the dangerous path Paulina is supporting. Roman approaches Paulina with a solemn warning, urging her to reconsider the current trajectory and to pull back from her enthusiastic championing of Theo's role. Roman's advice carries the weight of someone who has witnessed firsthand how ambition can corrupt, how corporate power can erode personal values, and how the pursuit of professional success can fracture family bonds beyond repair. He implores Paulina to consider whether her support might actually be enabling a situation that could ultimately harm not just Theo, but the entire Carver household. The question becomes whether Paulina will heed his warnings or remain steadfast in her conviction that Theo is capable of thriving in the DiMera environment. The custody complications, Javi and Leo's unexpected heartbreak. In a parallel storyline fraught with its own emotional complications, the question of baby Tesoro's custody has created an unexpected family crisis. Rafa Hernandez, Tesoro's legally designated adoptive parent, represents stability and legitimacy. However, Javi and Leo have been operating under the assumption that they would eventually become the child's permanent guardians, viewing their current arrangement with Rafa as merely a temporary stepping stone in their path to parenthood. The reality check arrives like a cold shock to both men when it becomes apparent that the foster care arrangement is intended as a short-term measure, not the pathway to permanent custody. They envision Javi and Leo experience a visceral, emotional devastation. This isn't simply a legal setback. For Javi in particular, the prospect of losing Tesoro resurrects deeply buried trauma from his own past. Years earlier, Javi experienced the profound pain of losing his own child. That wound, though time has passed, remains tender and sensitive to reopening. The thought of losing Tesoro, a child he has grown to love and care for, threatens to break him all over again. The foster care system, with its bureaucratic protocols and legal parameters, suddenly feels like an enemy rather than a solution. Gabby Hernandez, recognizing her brother's spiral into despair, positions herself as his emotional anchor. Her presence and compassionate understanding provide Javi with the support he desperately needs during this turbulent period. Yet beneath the surface of this reunion of familial comfort lies a more insidious threat. The stability of Javi's relationship with Leo may be hanging in the balance. The question looms whether their partnership, built partially on their shared dreams of raising Tesoro together, can withstand the crushing disappointment of permanent separation from the child they both adore. The couple faces a pivotal moment that could either strengthen their bond through adversity or expose fundamental incompatibilities in their long-term vision. EJ's surprising discovery, unexpected grace in an unlikely source. Elsewhere in Salem, EJ DiMera finds himself in an uncharacteristic emotional state. While his grandson Johnny and Johnny's partner Chanel celebrate the joyous news of becoming parents, they remain blissfully unaware of the puppeteer pulling the strings behind their good fortune. EJ orchestrated their path to parenthood with calculated precision, yet rather than feeling satisfied by his own manipulation, he finds himself isolated and introspective in his mansion. The weight of his recent decisions coupled with a comprehensive and brutal reassessment of his past choices left EJ in a contemplative state bordering on melancholy. He questions whether his manipulations were justified, whether his methods align with the person he wishes to be, and whether his relentless pursuit of family control has actually brought him any genuine happiness or meaning. This introspection is unusual for someone of EJ's temperament and history. What makes this particular storyline compelling is the completely unanticipated source of emotional support that emerges. Gwen, a woman EJ has no particular reason to expect kindness from, unexpectedly demonstrates profound emotional intelligence and compassion. Rather than judge him or exploit his vulnerability, Gwen recognizes the genuine human suffering beneath EJ's aristocratic exterior and offers him something he rarely receives: authentic understanding and non-judgmental companionship. This surprising connection between EJ and Gwen, individuals whose histories haven't been particularly warm or cordial, opens unexpected emotional doors. What begins as simple emotional support between two wounded souls evolves into something more strategic. The two begin collaborating on what could become a significant plan, one that has the potential to reshape several lives and trajectories within Salem's social hierarchy. Whether this partnership will serve redemptive purposes or merely enable darker impulses remains to be seen, but their unlikely alliance signals significant changes ahead for both characters. Next, Tuesday, November 3, 2025, delivered one of those classic Days of Our Lives episodes that longtime viewers live for: a storm of family conflict, guilt, and buried emotions wrapped in the seemingly simple chaos of a father trying to reach his daughter. But beneath the light-hearted Pumpkingate fiasco, the story exposed something far deeper: a father's helplessness, a child's pain, and Salem's web of secrets tightening once again. The aftermath of Pumpkingate. The episode opened in the Salem Plaza, now also a crime scene, with Brady Black trying to reach out to his daughter, Rachel. The setting was symbolic: a cheerful public square turned place of reckoning, just like Rachel's mischievous act had turned into something serious. Brady's anger was barely contained. Rachel, standing small before her father, was more than sorry. She was frightened, confused, and defiant all at once. Her attempt to throw a pumpkin may have started as a childish prank, but in Salem, even innocent acts carry emotional weight. Brady demanded answers. Rachel's soft "I'm sorry" didn't ease his rage, not because he didn't love her, but because he could see something deeper: the influence of her mother, Kristen DiMera, lurking behind her behavior like a ghost that refused to rest. When Brady asked her the tough question, "What about you?" his words carried more than a father's frustration. They carried years of disappointment, guilt, and fear that Rachel might be following in her mother's dangerous footsteps. Grounded, cornered, and crumbling, things went from bad to worse. Thomas DiMera, Rachel's cousin, had already reported her little pumpkin stunt, and the punishment was swift. Rachel was grounded. No friends, no fun, and worst of all, no visits with her mother, Kristen. That final blow hit hard. Rachel's fragile control cracked. She lashed out, her emotions spiraling faster than Brady could handle. Just when he thought he had her attention, Tate and Aaron appeared, teasing her at the worst possible moment. That was all it took. In tears, Rachel bolted, her small figure darting through the crowd and out into the cold Salem air, leaving Brady shouting after her. A chase through Salem, and an unexpected reunion. The chase that followed was pure day's drama, full of tension, urgency, and unexpected turns. Brady followed Rachel's trail straight to an all-too-familiar face, Xander Cook, lurking outside a bar like trouble waiting to happen. The irony wasn't lost on longtime fans. Xander had once been part of the chaos that shaped Rachel's early life, and now here he was again, standing between father and daughter. Brady didn't hesitate. He grabbed Rachel's hand and marched her into the bar, where Sarah Horton was already inside. It was a strange tableau: Brady, the desperate father; Sarah, the kind doctor with a complicated history; and Xander, the unpredictable wildcard watching from the shadows. Sarah steps in, a voice of calm amid the chaos. Inside the bar, Brady's frustration boiled over. He demanded Rachel tell Sarah everything, every detail of what fans have now dubbed Pumpkingate, but Sarah's approach was different. She didn't lecture or scold, she listened. She gently suggested that Rachel's behavior wasn't about mischief, it was about loss of control. With Kristen in jail, Rachel's world had collapsed again. "She just feels lost," Sarah said softly, and even Brady had to pause. The truth hit hard. Brady wanted to believe he could protect Rachel from Kristen's chaos. "The less Kristen Rachel sees, the better," he muttered. But Sarah wasn't sure. Shielding Rachel from her mother might only deepen the scars. As the storm settled, the conversation shifted to something quieter and far more dangerous. Sarah asked Brady to keep a secret. Whatever he might have heard or seen about Xander and Philip must stay between them. It was a risky request, but Brady, worn out and sympathetic, agreed. Salem, after all, runs on secrets. A moment of tenderness and an ominous hint. Later, in a rare tender moment, Rachel returned to the bar clutching a chocolate milkshake. It had melted during her dramatic escape, a small, sad metaphor for the innocence she was losing. Trying to cheer her up, Sarah playfully tickled her, and for a fleeting second, Rachel laughed. The sound felt like sunlight breaking through clouds. But then came the innocent question that made both adults freeze. "How did you know my tickle spot?" Sarah quickly covered, saying she was Rachel's doctor and just had a good guess, yet viewers knew there was more to it, a hint of memory, of connection, of something Rachel might remember about the time Sarah and Xander once raised her as their own. It was a moment so simple, yet so charged with history that longtime fans could feel the weight of years pressing into a single laugh. Salem's secrets never stay buried. By the end of the episode, the emotional pieces were scattered across Salem once more. Brady exhausted, but determined to do right by his daughter, Sarah haunted by her hidden bond with Rachel, and Xander quietly slipping back into the night, his motives as murky as ever. What Days of Our Lives does best is remind us that family isn't simple. Every choice, every lie, and every moment of kindness carries echoes of the past. On this Tuesday, the show gave viewers a portrait of love struggling against the weight of history and the quiet fear that even the best intentions can't erase the DiMera curse that runs in Rachel's blood. Next, the week of November 10-14 on Days of Our Lives promises a chilling mix of nostalgia, danger, and DiMera drama. As Salem prepares to celebrate both the 60th anniversary of the beloved series and the grand opening of Dr. Tom Horton's free clinic, darkness begins to creep in behind the scenes. Fans who have followed the town's history of love, loss, and lunacy know that whenever Dr. Wilhelm Rolf Richard Horton and E.J. DiMera Dan Furigal share a storyline, something sinister is bound to happen. And this week, the unthinkable does. The calm before the storm. Salem's grand celebration. The town of Salem is abuzz with excitement as banners go up, and the Hortons prepare to honor the clinic's namesake, the late Dr. Tom Horton MacDonald Carey. The new facility is meant to embody his lifelong dream, a place where everyone, rich or poor, can receive care with compassion. For many longtime residents, this is more than just a building. It's a tribute to the heart and history of Salem itself. But as we've learned from decades of Days storytelling, when something big and joyful happens in Salem, chaos usually isn't far behind. Beneath the polished speeches and warm toasts, there's a current of unease. And that current leads straight to the DiMera mansion and to Dr. Rolf's secret laboratory. E.J. DiMera's double life. E.J., ever the charming schemer, is playing a dangerous game. On the surface, he's one of the event's most generous donors, smiling for photos and pretending to be the model citizen. But in reality, he's using the celebration as a cover for his darker ambitions. Behind the walls of the newly expanded hospital wing, shipments arrive late at night under strict secrecy. Crates marked as medical supplies contain equipment that has nothing to do with healing and everything to do with Rolf's twisted experiments. E.J. knows that while the town celebrates Tom Horton's legacy, no one will be paying attention to the shadowy figures moving through the corridors after hours. Those who have followed EJ's recent behavior suspect that grief, pride, and the pressure of maintaining the DiMera name have driven him further down a path of moral compromise. But this time, even his usual allies may turn on him once the truth comes out, especially when Sammy Brady Allison Sweeney discovers what he's hiding. Dr. Rolf's horrific lab work. Meanwhile, Dr. Wilhelm Rolf continues to live up to his reputation as Salem's resident mad scientist. Inside his lab, where the lights flicker and the air hums with the sound of strange machinery, something horrifying is happening. Rumor has it that Rolf's latest project involves an experiment that pushes the limits of life and death, something even he may not fully control. Helping him, reluctantly, is Mark Green Jonah Robinson, a man who has just been released from prison and is desperate to turn his life around. Unfortunately for Mark, his new job in the lab is not what he expected. When he realizes what Rolf is up to and how far EJ is willing to go to protect the experiment, he begins to fear for his own safety. Mark knows one wrong move could send him back to prison, or worse. Sammy Brady returns and brings the storm with her. While EJ juggles his dark secrets and Rolf tinkers with his terrifying creations, a familiar hurricane is heading straight for Salem. Sammy Brady. After weeks of silence, Sammy calls her son Johnny DiMera Carson Boatman to tell him she's on her way home. Her tone is cheerful, but longtime viewers know Sammy rarely returns to town without a hidden motive or a vendetta. Her sudden reappearance couldn't come at a worse time for EJ. He's already on edge, trying to keep the clinic's shady underbelly hidden from the public eye. And if there's one person in Salem who can sniff out a DiMera secret faster than anyone, it's Sammy. The ambush, when love turns to war. As the clinic's grand opening draws near, EJ believes he's in the clear. The speeches have gone off without a hitch, and guests are clinking glasses under twinkling lights. But in true Days of Our Lives fashion, the calm is shattered when Sammy storms into Dr. Rolf's lab, catching both EJ and Rolf red-handed in the middle of something unspeakable. Viewers can expect a confrontation for the ages. Sammy's fury is legendary, and seeing EJ entangled in another dark scheme sends her over the edge. The woman who once loved him now sees the man before her as a stranger, one capable of acts she can't even comprehend. EJ, cornered and desperate, tries to justify himself. He claims it's all for the greater good, but Sammy isn't buying it. As she throws open drawers and yanks the covers off equipment, the scene becomes both chaotic and heartbreaking, a mix of betrayal, fear, and the lingering passion that has always defined their relationship. The fallout: Salem will never be the same. When the dust settles, Salem's shiny celebration is left in ruins. Rumors spread quickly, whispers of unethical experiments, missing patients, and DiMera corruption. The Horton family is horrified that their clinic's good name might now be tied to scandal. And for EJ, the damage could be irreversible. But there's a twist. Instead of turning him in immediately, Sammy hesitates. Despite her disgust, part of her still sees the man she once loved, the father of her children. Could this confrontation spark a new, dangerous connection between them? Or will it mark the final collapse of one of Salem's most volatile love stories? As Days of Our Lives continues its 60th anniversary celebration, fans can expect heartbreak, betrayal, and perhaps even the birth of a new alliance forged in the fire of scandal. Because in Salem, nothing stays buried, not secrets, not love, and certainly not the past. Character-driven, suspenseful, and steeped in the classic moral dilemmas that longtime fans adore. This week's Days of Our Lives proves once again why it remains the heartbeat of daytime drama even after 6 unforgettable decades.